Good morning and welcome back from spring break. All right, so this is week 12 of our British literature class, and I hope that you had a very enjoyable and a very relaxing spring break. Um, I know I did, and so I'm hoping that you did as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started talking about this week's readings. This week's readings, you're going to notice that there is a schedule change announcement in the uh, announcement board on the homepage of our class. If you go into the discussion board and if you go into the calendar on D2L, you're going to notice that D.H. Lawrence's The Horse Dealer's Daughter is no longer required. I did that out of fairness to you because we got a little behind in our class where we actually meet face to face 3 times a week. And so I had to cancel D.H. Lawrence's Horse Dealer's Daughter from that. So I didn't think it would be fair to make you read something that class isn't reading. So you are no longer required to read Horse Dealer's Daughter. Now, I will tell you that it was a little bit scandalous. By it, I mean The Horse Dealer's Daughter was a little bit scandalous when it was published in 1922. There is a little nudity in it, featuring a naked woman, and the guy and the girl do kind of get a little bit cozy, but by today's standards, it would be PG-13 at worst. I mean, honestly, it's not that big a deal. So, but in 1922, it was a huge deal. In fact, D.H. Lawrence was considered a scandalous writer. But now you're no longer responsible for that. You're only responsible for Virginia Woolf and for the World War II literature. And one of those is Virginia Woolf. So you're going to get a good exposure to Virginia Woolf today. So let's talk about those readings. The Mark on the Wall, just like the reading you had to do for T.S. Eliot last week in Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock, is also Stream of Consciousness. And it's about a young woman who is sitting in her living room, and she notices some kind of a mark on the wall above the fireplace. And she wonders what it is, and that leads to another question, which leads to another question. Then she goes back to the mark on the wall. Then there's another question, and then you get the big reveal in the end when the narrator's husband says that he's stepping out to go to the store. So it's all stream of consciousness. It bounces around. But again, this is what stream of consciousness wants to do. In fact, you might want to go ahead and review the video for, I'm sorry, not the video, the slideshow for the modernism in order to remind yourself about stream of consciousness. It was an effort at high art, and it was an effort in trying to capture how the human mind truly works. And it was very much influenced by people such as Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung. So, that's Mark on the Wall. And then you've got A Room of One's Own, and there's only a short passage from it. A Room of One's Own is actually a book-length book. But what you're getting is, and I especially want you to pay attention to this in A Room of One's Own, is that there's a hypothetical situation about what if William Shakespeare had a sister? And what if this sister was just as talented as he was, but she was living in a time when she would not be allowed to write? And it drives her crazy. So pay attention to that Shakespeare Sisters portion of the Virginia Woolf reading. And those are the only 2 readings from Woolf. And then, of course, you have the World War II literature. The thing to remember about World War II is, although World War I was the biggest event and the most horrifying war that anybody had seen up until the point when it occurred, World War II trumped it, and World War II trumped it in a big way. World War I was mostly conflict in Europe, particularly Eastern Europe, places like France. And while a lot of the world was involved, it wasn't all of the world was involved. In fact, up until World War II, nobody had called World War I a world war. They had called it the Great War because it was the biggest war anybody had ever seen. World War II was much more bloody, and World War II was much more encompassing. World War II truly was a world war. From the time that Hitler invaded Poland in 1939 until the peace treaties were signed in 1945, death was just everywhere. And almost every single country in the world was involved. And unlike World War I, where the island of England was pretty much isolated and war didn't really touch England in World War I. In World War II, Hitler would send in planes. He called it a blitzkrieg, which is where he would send his air force in, the Luftwaffe, if you will. He would send the airplanes in, and they bombed London nonstop for several days. The most important part about that, they call it the Battle of London, is that Hitler was not able to conquer London, nor was he able to conquer England. If you've ever seen the movie The King's Speech, it's about that. It's about that bombing, and the king, who had a stuttering problem, George VI, I believe it was, had a stuttering problem, being able to get on a radio and speak and inspire his subjects. And so it's very much different from World War I in its scope, in its casualties, and in the fact that England was actually attacked physically by the Germans, and England was able to repel the Luftwaffe, and that was basically the first major defeat that Hitler suffered in World War II. That was kind of a turning point in the war. So, so read all of that. You've got the Voices, and then of course you've got Three Guineas by Virginia Woolf, and then you've got I don't even know how to pronounce that, by Keith Douglas. Bergisch Meinnicht, I think is how it's pronounced. So remember how bloody and how devastating World War II was as you read Keith Douglas's poem. Three Guineas is where Virginia Woolf makes the famous declaration that because I'm a woman, I have no country. Essentially, she's saying, hey, why should I be patriotic about England? Women have no rights in England. And because women have no rights, I'm not really a member of England. Therefore, as a woman, I declare that I don't have a country. So that's a very important declaration by Virginia Woolf in Three Guineas. So that's it for this week. So remember, you don't have to read Lawrence if you want to, because you want to have an enjoyable reading. I do think The Horse Dealer's Daughter is an enjoyable read, but I felt like if I had to eliminate something, I did not want to eliminate Virginia Woolf at all. And I certainly did not want to eliminate World War II because of the importance of World War II. This is also the last time you'll have to actually do a posting until we get to Oscar Wilde. Next week, we're going to hit that research paper hard. We're going to start with the research and anti-bibliography. So the reason I bring that up is I want you to go back through your posting, and I want you to make a decision on which author or which piece of literature that we read you're going to want to do some more research on, and you're going to want to actually write a paper about. And we covered everything from Romanticism all the way up to World War II. We covered the Industrial Revolution. We covered the woman question. We covered imperialism. We've covered all kinds of important issues. Or you can just write about something you enjoyed. You know, maybe you loved We Are Seven by Wordsworth, or even better, you might have loved Rime of the Ancient Mariner by Coleridge, and you might decide, hey, I want to write about that. One thing about Coleridge is that he had some ideas on poetry too, and even though he and Wordsworth published lyrical ballads together, Wordsworth wrote the preface, and Coleridge decided to write something called the Biographia Literaria, which was his views on poetry, and they're a little bit different from Wordsworth's, and it actually caused a rift in their friendship. So, anyway, think about what you're going to want to write your research paper on. So your reading load and your posting load has been reduced by one particular piece of work, so I hope you're happy about that. Unless you really want to do 3 postings this week, I'll be glad to give you special access to the Lawrence board so that you can do that posting. But otherwise, I think that most of you will probably be pretty happy about that. So that's it for this week. So welcome back. I hope that your spring break was enjoyable. We've really only got about a month or so left of really hard work, and then it'll be summertime again. So let's come down the home stretch strong, okay? And we'll see you next week.